Hi everyone, I'm Loredana Popa. I'm an English teacher at school number 17, Botoșani, Romania. I'm an eTwinning ambassador working in an eTwinning school. We are partners in the eTwinning project Let's Create Our Own TV Channel, and are currently partners in the Erasmus project that stemmed from that particular eTwinning project. So let's sharpen our minds and enrich our lives by creating a European TV channel. And the journey from eTwinning to Erasmus was quite easy in terms of deciding what we would do and how we would continue the project and how we could improve it. Like any Erasmus project, it has challenges and it has things you have to deal with, but that's not something that should deter you from applying and writing an Erasmus project based on an eTwinning one. The idea is for students to be content creators and to create their own videos, write their own plays, film them, act them, write ads, film documentaries, whatever they wanted. And it did work even for younger students, for third graders, for example, or I think even younger students. So it's great because the materials can be then used in class, and because they provide students with real feedback from real students, and they care more about peer evaluation than they care about teacher evaluation, as we all know. So when we decided to move forward and apply with the project as an Erasmus project, the Turkish school, the Greek school, the coordinators from the 7th Primary School of Alemos in Athens, and ourselves, we figured we would find new ways to enrich that experience. So filming joint documentaries, creating joint ads or joint materials, working in transnational teams has always been the staple in our current Erasmus project. The first mobility was in November in Romania. It was a training mobility. It was a training activity for teachers because we are an eTwinning school, and we wanted to share the ideas of shared leadership and student agency, among other things, and also tools and useful advice for running a project and creating a team and implementing, disseminating, and so on. And the activities in Romania included lots of workshops. All of them had mixed teams, international teams, and the great thing was that teachers were mixed with students, and that's what the students love the most every single time, because they feel like their opinion is just as valuable as the teachers, and they tend to contribute a lot more when they work in mixed teams with teachers. So the activities ranged from creative writing, science fair, climate change activities, the Wizard of Oz, and so on. A treasure hunt with QR codes based on chemistry. And the second mobility was in Greece in February. So we got back home about a week before the state of emergency was declared, so we managed to complete that mobility. And the activities in Greece were also based on mixed teams, and students at the center, students as protagonists. They took the decisions, they presented, they disseminated their work. We had a wonderful workshop on book presentation, a book presentation that was made by students, and we also had climate change workshop that was really useful because we had two sides, the ecologists and the industrialists, obviously mixed teams, but just the students, to see their perspective on climate change. And then another team was made up of consisted of the jury. They had to decide who would win. Each side could give arguments, and it was a wonderful workshop. You can see it on the TwinSpace. And another one we were particularly fond of was filming the documentaries, both the Acropolis and the Stavros Niarchos Foundation, because again the students had to work together. They had to rehearse together in mixed teams, and every single paragraph, every single part of the presentation includes students from all the countries, all 5 countries. Again, they had the chance to be content creators and decision makers when they created the fanzine at the Stavros Niarchos Foundation. And some of them were reporters, others did the drawing, others took the decisions in terms of format and what the pages would look like. Others would decide on the questions that would be asked, and so on. There were lots of other workshops that we absolutely loved. My students loved the chain stories. It's a favorite with all my students because they get to continue the story started by another team, and then you give them 5 minutes, let's say, and then they move on and continue writing all the stories started by the other teams, and you end up with a really fun story. The stories were based on climate change. We wanted to do that in particular because it was a wonderful decision coming from our Greek coordinator, from Joanna, because climate change is not actually discussed in schools, at least not in Romania. It's barely discussed, and it's not, as far as I know, it's not really included in the curriculum, so it's up to the teacher if they want to address that issue. And it's an important issue, and students should be aware of all the problems and consequences and so on, and their role in all of this problem. They loved working in mixed teams, even despite the age gap, because we had really young students, like 10 or 11, I think, 4th graders, and then we had 14, 15-year-olds, and they were together in teams, and it was a great exercise for them to work on teamwork and to work on inclusion, and to learn to take into account everyone's opinions, not just their own, because we all have those students that, when put inside a team, they will do everything, they will write everything, and they will say it all, even present it, disregarding the other's opinions. So this was a great exercise for students to, share their ideas, but also listen to the other's opinions. And we're obviously happy that they improved their communication skills and their social skills. As we know, students nowadays are sort of lacking in that department because social skills for them equals social media. And that's, it's not real social interaction. They get more of a virtual interaction. So when you move from Erasmus to eTwinning, that's one of the bonus points you get. Students get to meet face-to-face, teachers as well, and it's a different dynamic. It's a different interaction, and it increases students' and teachers' motivation. For students, it's because the feedback is actually instantaneous. They don't have to wait to see if their peers wrote a comment on their video and so on. So they get instant feedback, non-verbal communication even, and they get the cues and they get the ideas across a lot easier. And for teachers, it's also a lot better, despite the challenges and the paperwork and the hustle and all of that. Because again, there is a chance for them to take part in mobilities and see different educational systems and learn from them, because we try to apply what we saw in the mobilities in our school. So if we saw a great idea in a mobility, then we try to apply it if we can with a class or two or more classes. It depends on the teacher and what they can try. So this gives teachers a different perspective on educational systems in Europe and on the curriculum, on how teachers approach the idea of students as protagonists, because that is vital in eTwinning and Erasmus. You don't do an eTwinning project or an Erasmus project just for the teachers. Yes, it does help them, and it has it does have a strong impact on them, but we basically do that for the students because that's our window of opportunity. So I really encourage you to apply for Erasmus project based on an eTwinning project. And you get a lot of support from your national agency. They're very nice people and they offer advice and they have all sorts of documents that can help. And you can always ask on the forums and people will lend a hand. Obviously, sharing is caring. So do try and apply. And if you can, it's not a must, obviously. Try to find an eTwinning school among your partners because they have already implemented to some extent the idea of shared leadership and student agency. And these are two of the most important issues you should take into consideration in an Erasmus project, obviously in eTwinning, but in an Erasmus project, shared leadership is crucial. Otherwise, you either end up doing all the work or I don't know, or the management just tells everyone what they have to do, and that's not good because that doesn't leave a lot for, you know, critical thinking and creativity and encouraging teachers and giving them a voice. So shared leadership is about everyone having a voice and everyone using their strengths towards common goals. So sharing responsibilities based on your strengths and knowing when to ask for help and dividing the tasks. So if you can get an eTwinning school to join you, great. If you become one, again, it's wonderful. If you are one, then congratulations. And the student agency is something that probably all eTwinners are passionate about because it's about empowering students to do a lot more than they do in school, to go beyond what is required of them by the curriculum, and to do things that are going to be useful in life, like making decisions, taking responsibility, tolerating people and other people's ideas, and learning to communicate better, learning to rely on each other, and learning to find their own strengths and weaknesses and what works for them. So, and also learning how to share what they do. And I don't mean just sharing their work with their peers, and I mean disseminating, because they will obviously need that in life. Whatever, if you have a good idea, you need a good pitch. So that is what disseminating, advertising your work in a project, be it eTwinning or Erasmus, does for students. And it's also what it does for teachers. They get more comfortable speaking in public, expressing their opinions, making mistakes, because school relies on students not making mistakes or shaming them for making mistakes. Projects, eTwinning projects, Erasmus projects rely on students accepting their mistakes, being comfortable making them, and understanding they're just a stepping stone. That was all I had to say, and I really do hope you take that extra step and, you know, turn your eTwinning project into an Erasmus.